Hey everybody, how's it going? Frank Barry here, coming to you live with another episode of Modern Church Leader. Super excited as most weeks about today's guest. Actually, a good buddy who lives locally in San Diego. We connected a handful of years ago, so we're gonna have a great time. We're gonna talk a little bit about kind of church coming out of the pandemic. We're out in Southern California, so it's an interesting place, interesting times, but many churches are kind of coming through this pandemic season and, opening the doors again or doing new things to have church. So we're going to have a great conversation. And I'm joined by Pastor Doug Kyle. Hey, how's it going, Doug?
Hey, Frank, how are you? Good to see you.
Hey, man, it's good. It's good. It's really good to see you. Like, it's been at least a year because we've not seen each other for the whole pandemic. I know that much. And maybe a little longer. The last time I saw you, I think I remember running into you when I was at a local coffee shop, Mostra Coffee Shop, and you were there as well. Like, we were different, we weren't there to meet each other, but we both were there and said hi and all that. So
I feel like that's where we always see each other. We always are bumping into each other there. It's a pretty safe bet that one of us will be there. So that's where I often see you.
We're gonna have to do like a Mostra ad or something like that. It's like if you're in San Diego, if you're in the like Poway, Rancho Bernardo, Forest Ranch kind of area, shout out to Mostra Coffee because they do good stuff.
Hey, anywhere in Southern California is worth the trip, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, just drive down and come check it out.
Exactly.
Well, man, and to everyone joining live, thanks for joining us today, guys. Today's going to be a fun conversation. So definitely pop in the comments. Let us know where you're from. Would love to hear some of your stories as we talk about, kind of church coming out of the pandemic. So Doug, why don't we start off, just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got into ministry and, how you started leading the church, the Green Valley Church over here in kind of the Poway area. Just give us a little bit of the story.
Yeah, I've been at Green Valley Church now for 27 years, or in my 27th year. So I've been doing this thing for a long time. We've gone through all kinds of seasons. Nothing quite like what we've all gone through right now, but lots and lots of seasons. But it was way back when I was in when I really trusted Christ for the first time as a junior high kid. 14-year-old, I had a sense that God was calling me into ministry, and I kind of discounted it. But in my late high school years, I sensed God was calling me into ministry. So I've really pursued ministry all of my adult life.
Wow.
Went to a Christian college, was a youth pastor right out of college, worked at a church up in Orange County for a time being in more of an associate role. And now I've been, came to Green Valley then right after that. And I had this sense of, I wonder what it would be like to be in the same church as a lead pastor the entire time. And that seemed like kind of more of a dream than a reality at the time, aspirational rather than something that could actually happen. But at this stage, it looks like that could be part of what God has in mind. And
wow.
It's been a great journey. Great.
I mean, 27 years at the same, that's like uncommon in just life in general. I think people having the same job at the same company for 27 years, especially nowadays, like anybody getting a job, now, right? It's really uncommon. I think about like the tech world, people end up at a company for maybe 2 years and then they bounce to the next one. But being at the same church for 27 years, leading that thing is pretty cool.
That model definitely has changed. More and more, people move around a lot, but there's something to be said about in ministry that what happens with longevity, that I still think that's if you can pull it off, it's a great model.
Right. What, I agree. I think it's fantastic. And there's probably some cool stories to unpack about being there that long. Tell us a little bit about the church, like give people a sense of what Green Valley Church is all about and kind of where you're at and, how you guys do church.
We're close to Frank's house. So we're close to you. We're in the same area. You can tell us as much about the area. We both live in the community. It's North County, San Diego. We're a little bit more of a high-tech kind of community. It is a place for a lot of families, kind of a little bit away from downtown where a lot of families end up. We feel like it's other than those last year, which has been unique for everybody, it's pretty busy, fast-paced area where it's easy to get isolated if you're not careful. And of course, the isolation is even more so true this last year for different reasons.
Right.
But it's San Diego's a great place to live. A lot of people do want to land here, and if they do land here, they tend to want to stay if they can afford it. They'll stay. So that's that's kind of the community that we're in. We kind of have a lot of younger families of teens, empty nesters, kind of the whole bell curve there as far as people coming to our church.
Yeah, very cool. And you have the coolest sanctuary doors I've ever seen.
Yeah, we moved into we're in a commercial building. It's just a big warehouse, but we do have these roll-up doors that you often see in a restaurant or something, where the doors roll up to go into the sanctuary. And that was, I remember when we were first designing our building, that was something that I really wanted, but we weren't sure if it was going to make the final cut, but it did. And we still, it's been 5-6 years, but we still love it. Yeah,
totally. Well, so give us the short version of what church has been like for you since the shutdowns in March of last year.
Yeah, it's been so difficult. It's been difficult on leaders in general. I think across the board, and certainly pastors are in that category. So it's been a rough year where we've had to be really nimble. We've had to be really flexible, and try not to predict the future, because now a year later we all thought this would be long gone. And so we've had to just continue to be flexible along the way. Obviously, like everybody else, we went straight to an online model. And then we started back into outdoor services. We have a parking lot that served that purpose. And in the meantime, our staff is working primarily from home. We moved to Zoom meetings and all of that. So it's been rough. It's been a hard year, but there's been a sense in which it's really solidified what our values are and what we're trying to do as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's been the hardest thing for you, like personally, as like senior pastor of a church? What goes on in the mind of a senior pastor in the heart during this last kind of year?
It's been such Frank, it's been such a tense year, and everybody's been so, feeling so much stress during this past year that it's revealed itself in just a lot of strong emotions and strong feelings and a lot of passion. So I think the hardest thing is just trying to navigate that with our congregation, who are going to be landing in different places through this time. And as most pastors, when they go into ministry, they want to be liked. They want their people to appreciate what you're doing. But there's been it's almost like at any point you're gonna be disappointing someone the way you go. So I think that's been the hard thing. But I've always said along the way, you can't please everybody, so you might as well do what's right. And that's tongue in cheek, of course, but everybody has to discern what God has for their church. But that's the hard part through all of this. There's also been some really sweet times though too, and really good times, and just a reminder of what the community of Christ is all about. Yeah.
I love that. I can't imagine, right, being in your spot, and even the senior pastors at our church, like, having to kind of make the call, like, do we meet inside or do we stay outside? Do we do in-person gatherings, or do we stay on Zoom or live stream? Do we talk about this topic or that topic? Like, there's just all this stuff that guaranteed with a big church and hundreds and hundreds of people, that you're going to have the opinions and thoughts and, positions of all kinds of people. And like, dude, stressful. Talk about stressful and hard and emotional, and doing all that, like kind of in a pandemic and an election season and all the other stuff going on in the world. Like, that's a lot. So
Yeah.
I hear you.
Someone said, a guy from our denomination was saying that right now, your best hope, when you make your best decisions, the ones that are just the wisest and best, your best hope is that you'll only disappoint 30% of your people. So that's the best case scenario. Of course you can do more than that, but that's the best you can hope for. So yeah, it's decision, and there have been so many decisions. Yeah, that has been the hard part during this season for sure.
Yeah.
And I take heart in the fact that it's not just pastors, it's principals and restaurant owners and barbers and, people
Right.
that are, trying to walk through the season the same way.
Yeah. 100%. What, switching to the, it's been hard, but what have you learned through all of this? Like, in this kind of real, like every senior pastor, every church was forced into something totally new. So what have you like learned? And you're like, oh, this was useful. Like, I want to keep doing these things, or I'm going to adopt this kind of whatever, like tech or ways of doing things or ways of engaging. Like, is there anything that you're going, man, this was awesome. Like, I really am glad that I learned this lesson.
Yeah, and this is super interesting, I think, to you too, from TITHE.LY's standpoint, because you guys are, working so closely on online participation of churches,
Yeah.
how they participate. Well, I feel like a year ago we got a crash course in what it means to have an online presence for a church. I think that's not going away. And we've had to learn how to do that much better. And in the process, we realized this is actually a great tool this is one of the tools. It's not the only tool we have in ministry, but it's probably been an overlooked tool in the past, where suddenly you realize there's all kinds of ways in which we can utilize this for the kingdom. And there is a Zoom fatigue, and there is a sense in which, as churches move back, people will be going, thank God I never have to do that again. But the reality is that we will utilize those things more and more and find ways to use them. And I think that's a good thing. Not just, before, I think the only way churches thought about online was Sunday service. That was really and online giving. They have online giving and they'd have online
You'd be surprised at how many didn't think about online giving or Sunday services, but
yeah.
But now a lot more are.
Yeah, and there was a radical, hard left on that a year ago when the pandemic hit. It was suddenly, we better figure this out, and we better do it. And churches that were sort of dismissing it as less spiritual, suddenly we're jumping on board and going, this is essential. Fortunately, we had an online service and online giving, thanks to you guys, but we've learned to use it much more effectively. And I think one of the things that we'll do when we come back out of this is that will still be one of our tools that we utilize. It's interesting to see people that are participating with our church out of state or just out of the area that are now, this is a legitimate way to participate. But it's not just that. I realize there's some people in our church that I would have put in the category of very shy and not very involved, that have been way more involved online because I think they're more introverted and or even sometimes have some social issues that makes them hard for them to interact in the church, but they've enjoyed it this way. And so it certainly is going to be a legitimate way for people to participate in the future. I think of some of the things we did along the way that we would have never done, obviously, this year if we weren't forced to do it. And some of those things we will continue to offer.
Yeah. Did you do anything with Zoom from the church, like the congregation perspective, or was that all like staff and those kind of meetings?
No, we did some, I do this thing called sermon release party. And when we start a new message series, we would typically have a meeting at the church where we gather and kind of give them the insight. Here's what's gonna coming up, and take a deeper dive into what the sermon series is all about, maybe some background information. Well, we did that on Zoom a couple
Okay.
times, and suddenly that was really well. People really enjoyed it. And so we were able to midweek meeting where I kind of gave them an insight into what's happening on Sunday mornings. We did a Psalms class that was kind of helping people at the beginning of the year, 2021, just how to utilize the Psalms in their daily time with the Lord. And that was, kind of a couple things like that we did with Zoom, and that was great too.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Do you think you'll do digital things like that? Let's pretend pandemic's over, you're fully back in the building, you're doing church just like you did it before the pandemic. Are you going to kind of sprinkle in like teaching series using Zoom or stuff like that in addition to what you might normally do?
I think we will. It's, again, predicting the future is hard, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think we will. I think there will be a little bit of like, there's just going to be such a longing to be together that we won't overdo that at the
Right.
beginning. But I think with time, it will be like I've been saying, it's a tool in our toolkit, something that we utilize for some people. So even like a sermon release party, I can imagine offering that two different ways, offering that both in person, but then also doing something with Zoom at a different time, or
Right.
perhaps at the same time. I also think, for example, all our home groups went to Zoom
Right.
immediately. So we were doing all our home groups, which is kind of a core part of our church, on Zoom uh, back in the fall. And then we went to more of a hybrid model where some people, actually most of our groups, stayed primarily with Zoom, but some of our groups would meet in person in a backyard, but I'll then Zoom in part of their group. So it was
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
like a hybrid model. Well,
Yeah.
it was so interesting to me because we had just a year before that, we had someone in our particular home group that couldn't participate because she was going through chemotherapy, and it was like, they needed to be kind of careful about their contact. So they just stepped away from home group during a time that would have been super valuable for them to be a part of it. Right. Well,
Right.
now in hindsight, it's like, well, why didn't we use something like Zoom back then? It just wasn't on our radar.
Right.
But
Right.
now where I'm realizing that there's going to be times when that's still, people are traveling. Some people don't get in our small groups because they travel so much. Well,
Right.
they may be able to do that now, with this, realizing that we had this technology before, we just weren't thinking about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It like
I definitely think there'll be
locks
ways.
it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. I was just kind of, commenting, layering on, like now it's part of how people think.
Yeah.
Right. To kind of to your point, like, well, now if somebody can't attend, it's like, well, yeah, jump on Zoom and we'll put a computer up and, or get on FaceTime and we'll have our phone with us or whatever. There's just this new unlocking of like, yeah, I can use tech and be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
In
And
the,
exactly.
yeah,
And we could have done that before, but we just didn't. It just wasn't in our categories. Now
right,
my
right,
now my mom knows how to Zoom, so I was like, well, I think as a culture, we've all kind of figured this out, and so now suddenly we're over the learning curve, which I think was the
right,
big resistance for people just thinking about how do we do that. Now we all kind of know how to do it too much.
right, right. So okay, fast forward, church is locked down. You guys were presumably out of the building for a period of time. How did that evolve? Like what, yeah, just talk us through the evolution over the last, 12, 15 months.
Yeah, I remember it was Tuesday night. We had a board meeting, and one of our overseers is a medical doctor, and it was the Tuesday before the Sunday all the churches kind of
Yeah.
went online, And I think it wasn't until Wednesday or Thursday that as a community, as a culture, we were all getting it. But on Tuesday night, I felt like I got a head start because I went into that and talked to the doctor on the board, and he kind of explained this is a lot more serious than we think.
Right.
And so I remember getting like that. That was a huge wake up call on Wednesday morning. I got our staff together. We said, here's what's happening. Sent out a couple emails that week to our congregation, which kept having to be adjusted to what we were doing. First was just we were going to be safe, and then pretty soon we were going to be online. And by Friday of that week, we were recording our Sunday service.
Okay.
So it was just, as for everybody, it was just a really quick adjustment.
Yeah.
We did that through the spring, always thinking we're just weeks away here from this kind of being over. The summer's going to be good. And, but as you know, it spiked again in the summer. So we continue to do online through the summer, started to introduce other things that we wanted to do. We did some Instagram coffee counters where we, instead of, gathering on the coffee counter at church, we would do bring your coffee to an Instagram live. And we did live worship on Instagram. We're trying to supplement it with other ways of just connecting our people. Did a lot of that kind of thing. And by the fall, we were making plans to meet outdoors. So we started doing that in October. It rained hard the second Sunday we did it.
And we don't get a lot of rain, but we did have a little bit for a minute.
We did, and it just poured. So we kind of got kind of a rough start there. We had to cancel that one right after we started. But fortunately, for those in the other parts of the country, I know this is probably not what you want to hear, but that was really the only time we got rained out the whole time. We were fortunate. We missed rain on Sunday morning, so we were able to meet every Sunday throughout the winter. And we tried to get creative with drive-through donations and drive-through events. We did a Christmas tree lighting in our parking lot, sang carols outdoors from cars. It was kind of like a drive-through kind of thing. It actually ended up being really, really fun, as well as some service projects and donations and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
This Easter we did a 90-second devotional I did every day of Passion Week. So it was for each day of the week. And we had just had people sign up to get that on their phones. So we did text messaging, and they would get a link to the video on their phone, just 90 seconds each day. And that's one of those things where I go, I think I'll do that every year. I felt like, well, this is just because we can't connect the other way. And then afterwards I thought people really appreciated this, and why wouldn't I do that every day?
Yeah. And why just for Passion Week? Like maybe there's other times where you're like, I'll do it for this week or for that, like it's a cool idea,
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. And to introduce the sermon series, or I don't know that I'll do it every week, but for special things, Christmas and other, launching things into the fall or upcoming things, just to kind of share that. People get it on their phone. So, and now this spring we've been making preparations for being indoors in the building. So we're moving our on-site service from outdoors to indoors.
And you said it's this Sunday, Sunday,
like 5 days away. Yeah.
So you're going to be back in the building, and what are you doing? Like, is this going to be just a massive party? Or meaning is it going to be this kind of celebration of being together in the building? I don't know. There's a different vibe. Like you're in the parking lot. It's great. You're close, but it's not the same. I don't know. How are you thinking about doing something special?
Yeah, I have a feeling, we'll see how it goes, but I have a feeling that there's going to be something very special about being inside the walls that we've worshiped for so many years and love. And so I think there is going to be a real tangible joy and probably some tears and real excitement about being together. So I do think that's the case. It's a transitional step obviously there's still a lot of regulations that are in place that we want to honor, and so it won't feel. Yeah, I think the celebration will come in waves and in stages.
Yeah.
I think there was something that we sensed just being in the parking lot that was really, really powerful. There's something that we sensed Christmas time around that Christmas tree in the parking lot that just
Yeah.
felt really nostalgic and good. And I think there's going to be something really powerful about being in the building. And as the summer happens and as regulations are reduced and as we get to do things even more and more the way we're used to, I think it'll just be a growing sense of appreciation and joy of being.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, I also, as you're saying that, it makes me think, man, like, churches that went through this together, the people that were kind of really invested and really connected and kind of going through this together are going to come out the other side with this like kind of crazy experience and crazy memory and crazy stories. Like, do you remember the Christmas tree service, or do you remember meeting in the parking lot, or do you remember when we did the first online service and it crashed on us, or whatever, like happened? But it's almost connecting, right? It kind of, you're even that much more connected to your church having gone through something so intense.
Yeah, it really will be a bonding time for all of us once we have the benefit of hindsight.
Yeah.
Some of our staff were talking about, I mean, there's some people that actually love the outdoor service. They're saying, I wish we would never do anything but this. They love
Right.
nothing but bringing their beach chair, plopping it down outside under a canopy and listening to the message. And
This is one of those, like, you can't please everyone. Like, you're going to go back in the building and you're going to have people that are like, but I don't want to do that. I want to stay.
Exactly. They're like, this is the best. Why don't we do this all the time? Coming in, they're just coming in their flip flops and shorts and sitting down outdoors and getting a suntan while they're listening to the message. But there will be a time. It's probably not this summer, but there will be a time where we'll have a throwback Sunday or something to pandemic days and do something kind of where it will be nostalgic and we'll be looking back and going, that was great. We did survive. We survived.
Yeah.
God carried us through, and we have a story to tell.
Think of all the sermon illustrations that you're going to have, Doug. I mean, you're going to have all these things that are going to come, a year from now.
Yeah. Ironically, our first Christmas Eve when we were at elementary school at the time, and the first Christmas Eve I ever did, we got locked outdoors. We were in elementary school. We got there. The custodian who normally let us in didn't know we were having a service, and so we're saying Christmas carols outdoors on that very first one. And this is sort of like a throwback to that. It was suddenly I'm going, this has come full circle here.
I've been here before.
Yeah. So, and that's a real nostalgic memory for the few of us that were there at that first service. So I'm sure this will be the same way to some degree.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been awesome. What, I guess maybe to close, like, is there anything, again, as senior pastor, 27 years, you're leading your church, you're kind of rounding the corner, going to have your first in the building service. Is there anything that you're thinking about putting into place as you guys get back in the building? Like, I don't know, any creative ideas, any stuff your staff's brainstorming, anything new, different that you'll be doing now that you weren't doing a year ago?
Yeah. I think initially it's, we're looking to, all these things we've been talking about with online, I think are just going to, explode. I think there's going to be all those opportunities, but kind of to come at that a little different angle, Frank, is one of the things that's really on my mind as we re-enter, when we've gone through a lot of change in the last couple decades,
right?
Church as a culture, we've navigated a lot of change as a church. We've had a lot of seasons. We were in the middle of the firestorms, 15 years ago or so when those hit. Our church
Right.
was really the closest church to all the firestorms that hit our area. And so there's been a lot of both crises as well as, great seasons that we've gone through. But I have seen this as we go through change. What's really important is to emphasize the values that don't change and our God who doesn't change. And I think
Hmm.
that's what's going to be most meaningful for our people, is to lean hard into our values and hold our structures lightly, hold the wineskin that's always changing, hold that lightly, but really underscore the values that we share and what that means. In our case is commitment to scripture and unhurried relationships and serving through strengths and enthusiastically sharing that with others. And those never change. Those haven't changed through the
Right.
season. They don't change now. And so, yeah, we're going to be looking at all kinds of structures, but all that kind of stuff is almost underneath the hood.
Right.
What I think for our people and what they long for, and I think what's going to be most meaningful, is that leaning into and being reminded that Jesus has taken his church through pandemics many times
Yeah.
in history. He's doing it again this time, and the confidence and the hope that we have that's unshakable. So
Right.
to
Right.
me, as I look back at my season of ministry, that's the thing that I think carries us through the best. Not so much jumping on all the innovation, which to me I geek out over. I love it, but that's really more beneath the hood.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I mean, right. It's the scripture, fix your eyes on Jesus. And, that's what it's all about. And
Yeah,
leading the church to do
absolutely.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Love that. Well, Doug, where can folks go to check out Green Valley Church?
greenvalleychurch.com if they want to. That's where we are.
Easy.
Yeah.
Got the
Yeah.
domain. That's killer.
We got the domain. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. Well, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Frank, really good to see you. I'll see you. We'll get some coffee sometime.
100%. Let's set it up. And also, just to everyone kind of joining live, appreciate you guys. If you got questions or comments, like pop them in the chat. We always go back through there. And we'll see everyone next week on another episode of Modern Church Leader. Thanks, guys.